Rohit Sharma has left the building, and India will need a new permanent test captain. Who are the contenders? Let's put the chatter crew at task. Nagraj, Ronak, Dustin, welcome back. Good to see you all. Feels like a two-way shootout, and lots of opinions about which way India will go. Who wants to start us off in which way we can imagine India going forward?
Nagraj should
I'm
always
sure
start.
Ronak wants to.
Yeah,
He's
should
itching to.
always start.
Chairman of selectors, let Ronak take the seat.
I'm not. I don't claim to speak on behalf of any man, chairman or otherwise. Uh, but I know that there is a likeness to Shubman Gill. He is looked at as someone who could be the next all format captain also, and that's not necessary to say that players should be all format players. But Gill screams out as one player who is potentially going to play all formats. I think this will trigger a discussion on whether his form in recent times merits guarantees him a place, and I'm going to have an opinion on that. Where I think actually Shubman Gill, there shouldn't be any doubt over his place even in the Test team. So they've already named Shubman as Rohit's deputy in the past. I think the key point of the Bodogavaskar Trophy was that Bumrah expressed a very keen interest to be captain. And that was also going to be only for a short term, given Rohit was always going to be available after the first test. So here a key point is whether Bumrah continues to show that will to want to be captain. If he does, then I see India managing to put both of them in a almost a I wouldn't say hybrid model, but let's take Pat Cummins' term, a leadership group setup where you will have Bumrah named captain with Shubman as his deputy, where Bumrah will strategically play whatever tests that is decided as per his workload, and Shubman will keep stepping in. It is highly unlikely Bumrah will play 5 tests in England after the IPL, and it is also quite unlikely that Bumrah will play every home test at the end of this year. So I see Bumrah and Gill as the likeliest choices as per the way the selection committee has been leaning in the past, and I honestly don't have any problem with that.
No, I have a problem with that because see, here's the thing. I mean, as we know, Bumrah, his workload will have to be managed with the injury that he has. And the problem is if you're going to say Bumrah's in and out and when he's not captain, Gill will be captain. Now imagine this. Firstly, every time Bumrah is rested from a test, you're losing your best bowler, your most important player. Then if he's captain, you're also losing the captain. So there's a psychological effect on the team. And then poor Shubman Gill has to captain in the only test where India's best bowler is not available, which is not a fair reflection then of his captaincy. I think that would be, I mean, that kind of hybrid model with Bumrah stepping in and out, I don't know if it works. I think with Bumrah not available for every test, as we know he's probably not going to be, I think it makes sense to just let Gill be the permanent captain.
The selectors are involved, very well involved. The direction that they're leaning towards, from what we understand, is that they are in favor of having a captain who is at least a two format, if not a three format player, someone who, more importantly, is uh, a long-term choice. Someone who's also at the same time showing the willingness to learn and at the same time has the composure and the temperament. So these are all the things that Gill ticks. Not that Bumrah doesn't tick, but Gill ticks straight away. Now, the only thing probably that the question mark will be about the overseas form, but that overseas form will come to later. But in terms of leadership, the numbers are indicating that Gill is showing improvements year on year, at least in the IPL. He is coming out as the most favorable name across the board, including from what I know, even at the BCCI. So Gill would be, I think, the first name they will take. I do have a suggestion for the selectors, but we'll come to that later. I'm sure this panel wants to add a little bit more.
Yeah, both Ronak and you, Nagraj, have teed up the bit about Gill's own spot. He is still relatively new to Test cricket. He still has his claims to make as far as is he a lock in all of India's Test setups, or and is captaincy at such a stage in his career putting a bit much pressure?
I don't think so. 25, it's a good age. He's playing also. He's got enough experience now under the thing. He has got the respect of his peers. More importantly, everyone from Rohit to Kohli to Bumrah himself has spoken highly about how this guy is a match winner, how this guy is like being a very good team player. So I don't think that is a question mark. I was just comparing that we were talking about it on one of our morning calls and who was the most youngest, the last youngest captain after, of course, Potodi will always be the youngest at 21. 21, I think. So, and Tendulkar was at 23 in his first stint. I think he did it for some time. He was pretty successful in that, but it weighed on him. But that was a different time 30 years ago. But then the burden was on him, just on him. Here, he has a team and also a good support system. So I don't think Gill will be
Yeah.
under the pressure.
I think what Gill is showing in the IPL this time is that captaincy is aiding his batting rather than it being a
Yeah.
burden on him. That's one. The other thing is, remember, yes, okay, Gill, he didn't have the greatest last test season. I think he was averaging just above 30 or so. That, and he was dropped for that one test at the MCG. That is the concern. But remember, even when Kohli was given the captaincy, I think Kohli was about 27. And Kohli also had, I mean, he was a very established white ball player, but that was the same year where he had the horror tour of England. And so Kohli wasn't yet, the established test player that he then became. He got the captaincy. It was a bit of, a punt. Obviously, in his case, he had got those one or two tests when Dhoni was injured where he could captain. And so you could kind of get to look at him. And he had those twin hundreds in Adelaide. But captaincy only pushed Kohli's career, in an even better direction. And I think that's a call worth taking with Gill.
My concern is not how he'll lead in Test cricket. I think he'll work that out with time and experience. He's got enough credentials going for him. The only concern is, should you back him as a batter? Or should he be fair game? If he has a poor run, should you leave him out? So I don't think Gill is the kind of player that Indian cricket will leave out. I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong, but there are certain players you earmark and you give them every possible chance to succeed. Those two players I named before him were exactly like that. KL Rahul was always somebody that you were waiting that he'll go to the next level, and you'll continue to give him opportunities. Even right now, after he sort of fell off after that good start in Australia, he will be a certainty in England, is what I think. And similarly with Ajinkya Rahane. So Gill, I think, has a higher ceiling than that. And to be fair, his overseas track record, effectively, we're looking at 2 tests out of 4 in Australia. Sorry, was it 3 tests that he played? Didn't play 2.
3, yeah. Played 3.
You're looking at 2 tests in South Africa where conditions were extraordinarily difficult, where a lot of Indian batters struggled. Otherwise, his returns, he's punched you a score. He's gotten you 100 in the India-England series, in the last Border Gavaskar Trophy at home. He got you a 90 at the Wankhede in the New Zealand game. So he's got a track record of putting in enough runs. What we are not seeing from Gill is volume of dominating a series like Yashasvi Jaiswal, like Kohli tends to do overseas. So I think this is a big 12 months for Gill, but I certainly think he's up for it.
That's the thing. The selectors need to be very clear. If Gill is the person, then obviously you give him that security that regardless of the form that you're in, even if you do not make enough runs in 5 tests, we are looking at you as a long-term choice. So that security provides him with that kind of understanding that, okay, fine, even if he can grow in his game. The only point probably is that this is, if you compare, the only other contender which we have spoken about is Bumrah, who as a captain performed. But then the down point to that is that he's always going to keep trying. The last match he tried, and he broke.
To be honest, the only player who commands a place in the test team today after Jasprit Bumrah who will not play every test is Pant. That is the only player.
Maybe Jaiswal.
Yashasvi Jaiswal.
He's not a contender.
I mean, I think Rishabh will be ahead of him, right?
So I mean, even
especially overseas. Yeah.
Jaiswal, I don't think anybody has earmarked him for.
No. I'm just talking about
Not in
players
terms
who
of
are
captaincy
shortlisted
on the team sheet.
But as far as Pant goes, so Pant is for me the only contender. I don't think KL Rahul should be in this competition.
Yeah.
Because KL Rahul has suddenly found a great new surge in this part of his international career as well as his IPL career, and one should just let him, carry on that. I think putting the captaincy on him is certainly a burden. Pant is a very interesting discussion, and I would have no qualms about looking at Pant as a test captain alone, given the complete uncertainty on his white ball game and white ball form. This is where it comes down to who Gautam Gambhir, Ajit Agarkar actually rate as someone who has a vision, who has a plan, who can command the entire dressing room. And they have had tough calls in the past where they went Surya Kumar Yadav and not Hardik Pandya. Could be injury related, could be temperament related, could be feedback from the dressing room. So I think this is one of those calls that you leave to the people who are responsible for it. Pant is a worthy contender as far as his place goes. But this is where they're looking at who ticks boxes beyond just...
So,
But
Yes,
I'm not sure about on the captain. Huh? I'm not sure about Pant the captain in Tests also.
Yeah,
And the one
I
reason I
mean,
also it's just that
Pant's leadership experience so far has only gone against him. He's been by some distance, I think, the most underwhelming captain in the IPL for a few seasons.
yeah, and we have various other things also as his leadership itself is not been the most popular as such, his style of
Yeah.
leadership. So that is an important thing. So clearly, that's why I just don't. Uh, for me personally, nothing against or about Pant, but not that I know him personally. Also, it's just that uh, him as a captain at the moment for Tests is a big call, and the other reason I don't support that is because Pant also doesn't yet is not a fixture in the ODIs at the moment. He's not like kind of I don't know like who
No,
will
but
be at the
that's what I
moment.
said, Nagra, that if they are making a plan which is unique to red and white ball, then that's one thing. But it is also a
Well, they
tricky.
will think. I think that's
I know
again
what you're
stands in
saying.
for Gill.
I know what you're
Yeah,
saying, that it's so tricky to have your test captain being picked and dropped or sometimes being left out of the ODI setup.
yeah.
It's with the same coach. If you had a bifurcated head coach and you had, different white and red ball structures, that might be a lot easier. But I can see your point over here with the complication it possesses. I think we don't.
And at some point, Rohit is going to go right as ODI captain also. Whether he lasts till 27, we'll have to see. So
Yeah.
if that happens before that, then again you have the same question coming. Do you want a captain? You can't have three different captains for three different formats. So you would rather have the same captain who's leading in either white ball, which in this case Surya is not part of the ODI setup. So you would want that test captain to also be the ODI captain. So who is that kind of candidate? Again, Gill, I feel
Do
Gill in ODIs is
Personally,
better.
personally, I
do
don't have a problem in three different captains in this particular case. I think it is
and
going to be complicated for a while,
and and
but
as it stands, till the time Rohit Sharma announces his ODI decision, it is three different captains.
yeah,
True,
absolutely.
true, true. Yeah,
Do I see three straight yeses for Shubman Gill as the next captain?
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I say Shubman. Yeah.
Or
I'd go Bumrah as captain and Shubman as vice captain.
and you're happy for it to be split when
I don't
Bumrah
think
is
it'll
not.
be such an issue at all. I don't think Shubman's track record without Bumrah is going to be something that either Shubman or the BCCI will hold against him. So I think it's a reality that India will have to entertain. And again, this comes down to if Bumrah is happy to not be captain as well. I think his interest is significant here. I think he's good enough to be captain. If he then says, you know what, forget it, it's okay, I'd rather just bowl, make it clear, that's one thing. But I think the BCCI can entertain this model, and who knows, maybe 6 8 months down the line it'll seamlessly happen that Shubman will become the full-time test captain. It could happen, but for right now, because we started an overseas series, a big series, 5 tests in England, I think Bumrah as captain is the way to go.
All right.
Only change for me would be Gill the captain and KL the vice captain.
Only that's
Ooh,
a huge change.
that's
Not in KL Rahul there.
also be mark a big change in KL Rahul's life from being outside the test team to being vice captain all in 1 year. Okay, Nagraj, Ronak, Dustin, thank you so much. Tricky times for India, transitioning times for India. This was Chatter.